Ama and Kwame's joy at the news of their pregnancy was palpable, a moment of relief after months of anxiety and heartache. The couple, who had married in a grand church ceremony followed by a traditional marriage, had always believed that their union was blessed. Yet, despite their faith, desperation had driven Ama to seek help from an unknown source, leading her down a path that now filled her with dread. As the weeks passed, Ama's pregnancy progressed, but so did her fears. She couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that hung over her, a dark cloud that seemed to follow her everywhere. The dreams she had of shadows and whispers only grew more intense, leaving her waking in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, her heart pounding. Kwame, though excited about the baby, began to notice Ama's growing unease. He tried to comfort her, assuring her that everything would be fine, but the fear in her eyes told him otherwise. The love that had once brought them together now seemed overshadowed by the choices they had made in their desperation to start a family. As her due date approached, Ama's anxiety reached new heights. The shadows in her dreams grew darker, and the whispers became louder, more insistent. She began to see things out of the corner of her eye, figures that disappeared when she turned to look at them, and fleeting glimpses of something lurking in the corners of her vision. One night, Ama awoke with a start, her heart pounding. She had dreamed of a dark figure standing over her bed, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The figure had whispered something to her, but she couldn't remember what it was. All she knew was that the dream felt more real than any she had ever had before. Terrified, Ama decided to confide in her friend Akosua, a fellow nurse who had a deep knowledge of traditional beliefs. They met at a quiet cafe, where Ama poured out her fears and confessed everything: the ritual, the talisman, and the strange occurrences that had haunted her ever since. Akosua listened intently, her expression growing more serious with each passing moment. When Ama finished, Akosua reached across the table and took her hand. "Ama, this is serious. The spirits you invoked are not to be taken lightly. They may have granted you a child, but they will demand something in return. You need to prepare yourself for what's to come." Ama's heart sank. "What can I do? How do I protect my baby?" Akosua shook her head. "I'm not sure, but I know someone who might be able to help. There's a spiritual healer on the outskirts of the city, Nana Aji. He's known for his ability to communicate with spirits. If anyone can help you, it's him." Desperate for answers, Ama agreed to visit Nana Aji, hoping he could provide the guidance she so desperately needed. A few days later, Ama and Akosua made the journey to Nana Aji's home, a small, humble compound surrounded by ancient trees and lush vegetation. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the sound of distant drumming, creating an atmosphere that was both calming and eerie. Nana Aji, an elderly man with piercing eyes and a calm demeanor, welcomed them into his home. After listening to Ama's story, he nodded thoughtfully and asked to see the talisman Auntie Ajoa had given her. As he examined the talisman, his expression grew serious. "This is not just any talisman," he said quietly. "It's a conduit for powerful spirits, and by using it, you've bound yourself and your unborn child to them. They will not release their hold easily." Ama felt a chill run down her spine. "What can I do? How can I protect my baby?" Nana Aji looked at her with compassion. "The spirits are demanding a price for their favor. To break their hold, you must offer something of great value to them, something that represents the bond you've created with them. It's a dangerous and uncertain process, but it's the only way to sever the connection." He then instructed Ama to prepare for a cleansing ritual, one that would require both her and Kwame to participate. The ritual would take place on the night of the full moon, when the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was at its thinnest. Ama returned home with a heavy heart, knowing she had to tell Kwame everything. That evening after dinner, she sat down with him and confessed the truth about the ritual she had performed, the talisman, and the spiritual consequences they now faced. Kwame was stunned, his initial shock giving way to anger and hurt. "Ama, why didn't you tell me? We could have faced this together." Tears filled Ama's eyes as she explained her desperation and fear of losing him. "I didn't know what else to do. I was so scared, and I thought this was the only way. Please, Kwame, I need your help to fix this." Kwame's anger softened as he saw the genuine fear and remorse in Ama's eyes. He took a deep breath and nodded. "We'll get through this together. Whatever it takes, we'll do it." The night of the full moon arrived, and Ama and Kwame prepared for the ritual. They gathered the items Nana Ajay had instructed them to bring: a piece of Ama's wedding dress, a strand of Kwame's hair, and a small carved figure that represented their unborn child. These items symbolized their connection to the spirits and would be used as an offering to break the bond. At midnight, they stood in a clearing under the light of the full moon, with Nana Ajay leading the ritual. He chanted ancient incantations, calling upon the spirits to accept their offering and release their hold on the child. The air around them grew thick with energy, and the shadows seemed to come alive, swirling around them like a dark fog. As the ritual reached its climax, Ama and Kwame placed their offering in a small fire that Nana Ajay had lit in the center of the clearing. The flames flared brightly, consuming the items in an instant. Ama felt a rush of energy pass through her, followed by an overwhelming sense of relief, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The shadows around them began to dissipate, and the air became still once more. Nana Ajay looked at Ama and Kwame with a mixture of solemnity and relief. "The bond has been broken. The spirits have accepted your offering, but remember, the balance has been restored, but you must live with respect for the forces you've encountered." In the days that followed, Ama's health improved, and the strange occurrences in their home ceased. The oppressive atmosphere that had haunted her was gone, replaced by a sense of peace and normalcy. As the months passed, Ama's pregnancy progressed without further incident, and she began to feel the joy and excitement of impending motherhood. Kwame was a constant support, helping her prepare for the arrival of their child with renewed enthusiasm. The day of Kofi's birth arrived, and it was a moment of both joy and relief for Ama and Kwame. Kofi was born a healthy, beautiful baby boy, and for a brief time, the shadows that had haunted Ama seemed to recede. The young couple's home was filled with the sounds of laughter and the cries of a newborn, bringing warmth and light to their lives. But as the months went by, Ama began to notice strange occurrences around the house again. At first, it was small things. Objects moved from where she had left them, doors that were left open when she knew she had closed them, and cold drafts that seemed to come from nowhere. Then, Kofi, who was usually a calm and happy baby, began to cry inconsolably at night, as if something unseen was tormenting him. Ama's anxiety grew, and the dreams returned with a vengeance. Shadows seemed to dance in the corners of her vision, and the whispers in her sleep grew louder, more insistent. She could no longer ignore the feeling that something was wrong. One night, Ama awoke to find Kofi screaming in his crib. When she rushed to him, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. A dark figure, barely visible in the dim light, was standing at the foot of the crib. As Ama approached, the figure vanished, leaving behind only the sound of Kofi's cries and the cold chill in the room. Ama knew then that the spirits she had invoked had not left them. Despite Kofi's birth, the spirits remained bound to her and her child. Desperate for answers, Ama confided in Yah, her cousin and fellow Christian, who urged her to seek help from their pastor. "Ama, this is spiritual warfare. You need to bring this to God. The pastor can guide you to pray and seek deliverance." Ama, torn between her fear of the spirits and her faith, hesitated. But as Kofi's health began to decline, she knew she had no choice. Kofi's condition worsened rapidly. He became weak, losing the vitality that had once defined him. The doctors could find no explanation for his illness, attributing it to a mysterious ailment they could not diagnose. Ama and Kwame were beside themselves with worry, watching helplessly as their son's life slipped away. One night, after Kofi had been put to bed, Ama sat by his crib, tears streaming down her face. She prayed silently, asking God for forgiveness and protection, pleading for her son's life. But deep down, she felt the weight of the choices she had made, the desperation that had led her to a path that now seemed to have no way out. In the early hours of the morning, Kofi passed away. The loss was devastating, a blow that shattered Ama and Kwame's world. The grief that enveloped them was compounded by the knowledge that the spirits they had invited into their lives had claimed their son as their price. Ama was inconsolable, and Kwame was a broken man. The couple, once united by love and hope, now found themselves drifting apart, each lost in their own pain and guilt. The spirits that had taken Kofi did not leave with his death. Instead, they seemed to grow stronger, their presence more palpable than ever. The disturbances in their home became unbearable. The shadows grew darker, the whispers louder, and the cold drafts turned into icy winds that chilled the house to its core. Ama and Kwame knew they could not live like this any longer. With Yah's encouragement, Ama finally opened up to their pastor, Reverend Asare, about everything that had happened. She told him about the ritual, the talisman, and the spirits that had haunted them ever since. Reverend Asare listened with a serious expression, his heart heavy with the weight of Ama's story. Ama, Kwame, you've invited something into your lives that is not of God, but His mercy is greater than any darkness you may face. We need to pray and seek deliverance. Only through faith can you find peace again. The pastor organized a prayer session at their home, inviting some members of the church's prayer team to join them in seeking God's intervention. The atmosphere in the house was tense, filled with both fear and hope as the congregation gathered to pray. The prayer session began with hymns and prayers, the voices of the congregation filling the house with a sense of calm that had been absent for so long. Reverend Asare led the group, praying fervently for the protection and deliverance of Ama and Kwame's home. As the prayers intensified, the disturbances in the house grew stronger. The shadows seemed to thicken, and the whispers became shouts, echoing through the rooms with a malevolent force. The congregation continued to pray, undeterred, their faith unwavering in the face of the darkness. Reverend Asare walked through the house, anointing each room with oil and commanding the spirits to leave in the name of Jesus. As he reached Kofi's old room, where the disturbances had been the strongest, the air grew thick with tension. The pastor prayed with renewed intensity, and the room seemed to vibrate with spiritual energy. Suddenly, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The shadows began to recede, the whispers faded into silence, and the cold air dissipated. The house, once filled with a dark, oppressive presence, was now bathed in a warm, peaceful light. Reverend Asare turned to Ama and Kwame, his face shining with relief. The spirits are gone. God has delivered you from their hold. Your home is now a place of peace. Ama and Kwame fell to their knees, tears of relief and gratitude streaming down their faces. They had faced unimaginable darkness, but through their faith, they had found the light again. In the weeks that followed, Ama and Kwame began to rebuild their lives. The peace in their home was palpable, a stark contrast to the turmoil they had endured. The grief over Kofi's loss remained, but it was now tempered by the hope of a new beginning. Ama and Kwame grew closer, their bond strengthened by the trials they had faced together. They continued to attend church regularly, deepening their faith and finding comfort in their community. Ama also began to share her story with others, warning them of the dangers of seeking help from unknown sources and the power of faith in overcoming darkness. Months later, Ama began to feel the familiar symptoms of pregnancy. At first, she was afraid, the memories of her past actions still fresh in her mind. But as she prayed and sought guidance from Reverend Asare, she felt a deep sense of peace and assurance that this time, things would be different. The pregnancy progressed smoothly, and when the time came, Ama gave birth to a healthy baby girl. The joy that filled their home was indescribable, a testament to the power of faith and the mercy of God. Ama and Kwame named their daughter Afia, meaning born on Friday, a symbol of new beginnings and the promise of a brighter future. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they faced it with a renewed sense of hope and faith. The story ends with Ama and Kwame holding Afia in their arms, their hearts filled with gratitude and love. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, their faith now unwavering, and their family complete.
Thank you for joining Ama and Kwame on this intense and emotional journey. This story has been a powerful reminder of the consequences of our choices, the dangers of desperation, and the strength that comes from faith and community. Ama and Kwame faced unimaginable darkness, but they found hope and peace through prayer and the support of their loved ones. If their story moved you and the lessons it taught, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share African tales that impart wisdom and delve into the complexities of life, love, and the enduring power of tradition. Don't miss out on the next chapter in our storytelling journey. There's so much more to discover and learn together.